I think one of the hardest things for us to do, like you mentioned, is to look introspectively and say, look, this just isn't right. Most people don't do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that a big part of it is because of social media.
Yeah.
You're able to go into other people who can relate to what it is you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll hear it. And then your algorithm will train you to continue to follow these people. And then you have these echo
Yes.
chambers.
Yes.
So, what I wanted to ask you was, how do you think social media has negatively or positively impacted relationships today?
Oof. I think it's mostly bad, unfortunately. I do believe that it has tricked us in terms of the belief in an abundance and optionality of the opposite sex. Um, Partially in both sexes, it's for different reasons. For men, the objectification of women, both in terms of when we objectify them and when they objectify themselves, has conditioned us to really, really struggle with lust. We're getting access to seeing more women naked than kings in medieval times ever saw in their entire lifetime.
I'll keep it G. My Explorer page is tore up. I
Right? Like
I don't even open it in front of anybody.
so think what what is this doing to us as men when we saw 500 women naked having sex by the time we were 18 digitally,
Right.
right? That doesn't even play into the open wild wild west actual dating market in terms of how people are approaching sex. So it's kind of it's probably damaged us to a degree to where it's very, very difficult for us to really understand and conceptualize the importance of monogamy, the importance of stability, and the importance of not leaning in our carnal nature and impulses that could potentially cause our demise financially, emotionally, and psychologically, which is often the case of why so many men end up taking themselves out. They oftentimes take themselves out of here after dealing with a negative interaction with a woman where a relationship fell apart. I was there. I was very close to that. So I
Really?
yeah, I was at a spot and point when I did the Playboy thing. I did the City Boy thing for about huge half
City
my
boys up.
right. I was up for real, right? And it was very, very difficult to be the guy that my ex at the time probably needed. And I failed. I failed morally. Um, I failed sexually in terms of just not being able to figure out how to kind of slow down and stop doing this. And a lot of men's time of intentionally trying to practice sexual discipline is only when they're in a relationship.
Right.
And that's what happened, where I'm trying to figure out how to do the right thing in real time while I'm hurting the
Yeah.
women I'm
That
with.
it kind of doesn't work that way in anything else that you try to do. You're trying to learn to be a professional at a relationship while you're in it.
Yeah.
Like that. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah,
If
yeah. So imagine you take on a job that requires a high level of certifications, degrees, and experience, and you have none of those things, and you're getting a performance evaluation every week. You're gonna lose that spot a little sooner than you realize, and you're gonna keep being reminded, and they're gonna keep being reminded why you're not meant to be in this role in my life. That is what's happening is a lot of times we're trying and attempting to establish and maintain sexual discipline, but we're only able to try to do that when we're in a relationship. We don't practice and try to do that when we're single. On our own, we just out here doing our thing. So, I think social media has definitely damaged our view and perspective of women. It's definitely messed with us to the degree of where it's like, and then what you said with the algorithms, we have a much more negative view of them in terms of their nature, their actions, their behaviors as a result of watching all this content where we're seeing the worst of women,
right.
the dumbest women, the worst women, the most evil women are now we're starting to project that onto all women with how we talk, with how we carry ourselves, with how we treat them. It happens, and I believe that a lot of guys who end up black pill and check out, it's because they've overestimated the worst aspects of what women have to offer. And now they've undervalued the positives that come with doing life with women. So there's a little bit of that. On the women's side, from a comparison standpoint, optionality, the ability or belief system that they can replace men from all over the world being able to access them so freely has, like you said earlier, tricked them into believing that if and when a man that has means, wealth, or is very good looking has access to you sexually, you believe that you're now on his level when usually you're not. The overwhelming majority of women that's in his rotation, that's in his list of body counts, they're not his equivalent. That's why you're on the roster. That's why you were on the list versus being the only one. If he can sleep with you and your homegirls and a lot of beautiful women notice him in the room and he's respected by most men and desired by most women, if you're not a 9 or 10, you're not on his level. I know you think you are, but you're not. But then they carry themselves that way, which results in them overlooking all the men that are actually at their level. So average women, we've heard it from Kevin, we've heard it from Fresh and Fit, we've heard it from all these different people. Social media has rigged and trained a lot of women's views of themselves in relation to the dating market, in relation to other men, to where they genuinely believe that most men that are average looking, average wealth, are no longer qualified for them. And with feminism, to add to the social media component, when you factor in that they've made money, and now their perspective is men that make less or substantially less than me, I can't date. And if men are average looking, and I've dated or messed with a Chad, I can't date those type of guys either. They're now chasing, and then they're comparing all the DMs and the likes and all this external validation is convincing them that they have more options than they actually do. So, it's distorted men's perspective of women. I think it's distorted women's perspective of themselves. And before you know it, now you have a small pool of men who's just living it up. And unfortunately, I was one of those guys where, I'm in a school where a huge percentage of the women aren't interested in most of the men. And if you were fairly charismatic, knew how to dress, were above average in the looks department, you could take a whole classroom.
It's a wrap.
You're taking a whole classroom, right? So, and that was what it was. And you were allowed to.
Right.
And you were allowed to. So all the traditional patriarchal things that was in place to prevent you as a man from being able to have that much access to women with not leading to any other outcomes, when you removed all the patriarchal restraints, all the protections, and now you said sexual liberation, have fun. Oh, and here's social media, so you can constantly compare the man, the engagement, the home, the car, and the travel to what everybody else got going on. Now you are looking at all other men and saying, if he can't provide what my homegirl got or what this one got, disqualified. He don't make this much, disqualified. This guy was real good looking, or this athlete, this dude hit me up. It's tricked us into believing that we have more options than we do. And now we're at a point or place where we would, not all, but a lot of people would rather wait and or be alone indefinitely, with a belief in mind that at some point it'll just mysteriously come. Yeah,
there's a lot of women who really feel like God is just going to spawn their perfect match, right? The man that they actually deserve.